Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, everybody. Welcome back to your morning watch list. Don't have a ton for you here today, but one of the stocks that's been holding up okay pre-market is the stock BLRX. So they had some news this morning regarding their phase 3 trial, okay? And so far, stock's been holding up pretty well. It looks like we might be going for a little bit of a push here, right? We got the break through this resistance we're currently sitting on pre-market before we get our next jump. This is also a location where many traders would also look to sell into right off that trend line. As you can see, we ran to it and we're starting to sell down. So BLRX really shouldn't have sort of a long move another long move until it breaks through that resistance point pre-market at 232. Now, what I do want to show you guys is the S&P 500 because this has been trading very, very interestingly, all right? So for the past couple days, as well as yesterday, I mentioned that the 338 price was the price that the market needed to get over and hold over in order to kind of press a new long. You can see we jumped to it, got over, and we consolidated over that 328 price, and we ended up moving higher. Well, we ended up smacking back down overnight, and you can see we did what? We ended up bouncing all the way back to that red dotted line, which is the price of just over 328. It's like 328.60 now, and just to it. So again, today, in order for the market to keep pressing long, I'd suggest we have to be back over that 328.60s price, holding over it in order to see another move higher. If we take a look at the daily chart, you will see that the market, in fact, moved down to that white trend line, and that's where we got our green day. So we sold all the way off until we hit that middle trend line, and now we're starting to see the market bouncing back up, okay? And then if we kind of zoom in a little bit more into the 4-hour chart, you will notice that we don't really have any trending resistance nearby. The only thing we can go off of is that daily chart trend line, which right now is priced at 328.60. So that red dotted line I've been showing you on the SPY, that's that long-term trend line that we're playing over and under for right now. So unless the market gets back up on the SPY over that 328.50, I think it's going to be hard to say that this keeps pressing up long bias for the time being. A couple stocks that might be a little interesting are Twitter. They reported earnings, okay? There's a couple stocks that reported earnings. Obviously, we're going to be keeping an eye on Twitter. Apple reported earnings as well. These are going to be sort of the two main stocks that we follow today for earnings report. And then BLRX is going to be that main penny stock that we watch today. Now, if I go back looking at BLRX, you will see that we still have yet to really get over that trend line, and until we do, we shouldn't see this really push up into a new long. And you can see on the daily chart, I believe, or the 4-hour. Yeah, so the 4-hour chart, you can see, look at this. Today we ran right up into resistance, okay? So daily chart, BLRX runs all the way up to that 252 price pre-market, hits resistance, sells back down. Now we're kind of trying to press up, but again, only through that 233 price should BLRX continue to move higher. If we go to the daily chart, we do have a longer term trend line that it's possible BLRX gets to, and that's at $2.70. So to make sure that $2.70 isn't outside of the realm of possibilities, we would go and look at the 1-minute chart, scroll it down and say, there's a 270 price, and that does exist within the intraday channel. So it is possible for BLRX to get up to that price point. But as you can see, sellers are already currently holding us down below that trend line. And the only way we'd be able to get to 270 is if, in fact, BLRX breaks out of that trend line there, which so far we're still struggling to do. Another one that was going to be on the watch was EQ. This used to be an easy to borrow stock on Thinkorswim. It's no longer easy to borrow, but it is something that we're going to be watching. Maybe it gives us a jump, back up, and then we have something that we can either short into if you're using Lightspeed or whatnot, or a different broker. But we're still watching EQ. Maybe this will give us some sort of long move to start the day. Since pre-market, it's already sold off so much into our 1 deviation zone. it's usually less good to short down there as it's already faded down, where we might be looking at sort of a reversal long to start the day on EQ. If we go back, take a peek at the S&P, you will see that it did in fact kind of jump right back up to that 328 price. So again, over the 328 is what a lot of the traders are looking for today to see if the market has that momentum to continue pressing up on the day. Other side notes are really just going to touch on the dollar, DXY. So dollar is starting to go down a little bit today. For those of you that have been following along, we mentioned that as soon as the dollar gets back up to its long-term trend of 94, we should see sort of a little bit of selling activity. Now, if the dollar can successfully cross this trend line here at basically 94, then that's where we're going to see the dollar have its next long push to the upside, which should continue to drive the price of gold and silver down. For right now, we have potential targets on gold and silver down as low as 170 on gold, or 1700 if you're looking at the futures, and on silver we have down to potentially 19, but those are kind of the prices that I would look to pick up more gold and silver for a long-term play as we get down into the $19 to $170 price. Now, other than that, some stuff going on in the market is just really the election coming up, the coronavirus second wave fears, and no stimulus money. But again, you know, if you take a step back and look at this long-term chart on the S&P 500, look at where the statistical trend is, right? That's where trend is right now. That's where the fair value trend of the market's at, and so you're all the way up here. You know, to come all the way back down to 265 isn't even, it's completely possible. And if you look at what we've been doing basically since Trump was elected, it's really just a rolling market, okay? You can see that the market's been high and we're just really rolling down, right? And so there's a lot of the market that is totally worried about another crash and so on or what have you, but I wouldn't say that we're out of the water yet, and I would be very cautious in this market. There's a lot going on. You have the governments that are basically going to adopt a digital currency, as we've been mentioning for a long time now. That's been in the works. They've been fast tracking a digital currency to bring to the United States and have a digital dollar. So that's all happening right now. So there's a total shift going on. And we're going to see a new world. You're going to have new digital currencies. It's just, we're living in the twilight zone, ladies and gentlemen. So that's all I have for you here on today's watch list. I hope you guys like it. Hope you learned something new as always, and I'll see you guys on the next one.